Next Chapter Podcasts.
Nordstrom brings you the season's most wanted brands. Skims, Mango, Free People, and Princess Polly. All under $100. From trending sneakers to beauty must-haves, we've curated the styles you'll wear on repeat this spring. Free shipping, free returns, and in-store pickup make it easier than ever. Shop now in stores and at Nordstrom.com.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
Hi, my name is Michael Goodfriend, and I'm the executive producer of the Play On podcast. I am delighted to have two incredible actors with me today, Susannah Rogers and Alan Gilmore. Susannah Rogers plays Catherine, Kate, in both Shrew and The Taming of the Shrew. Amy Fried's Shrew, directed by Art Mankey, and Amy Fried's translation of The Taming of the Shrew, directed by Art Mankey, both for the Play On podcasts. Alan Gilmore played Petruchio in both versions of Shrew and Taming of the Shrew. And I have invited them both here today to talk with me and you about the process of putting both these productions together. They're both incredible actors, and it is a real honor to have you both with me today. Susannah Rogers, Alan Gilmore, welcome to the bonus content series for Shrew and The Taming of the Shrew.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So, Susannah,
Yes.
you have worked with Amy Fried and Art Mankey on a lot of projects. How did those experiences inform your work here with this audio adaptation?
Well, I first met Amy when I was in my early 20s, and I did some readings of hers, and I just was instantly enchanted by her writing. She has a writing style that is utterly unique to her, and I just devour it. So over the years, I've done several of her plays, both in reading forms and in production. And every time I get to say her words, I feel like they just pour into me. I just love it and pour out of me. But the three of us, Art and Amy and I, first worked together on The Monster Builder, which was another of Amy's plays at South Coast Rep. And the combination of Amy's words and Art's sort of fearless and ultimately clear direction style, just like clarity and fearlessness above all, was just like this incredible combination. And so it just seemed natural that we would go on to then do, when South Coast announced that they were doing Shrew, it just seemed natural that we would all go on to do that again together. And I've said this to Art before, that he makes me feel brave. He makes me feel like I can take the risks and take the leap. And especially with the words that I love so much, which is bold writing as well. It's such a powerful combination for me, and license to just let loose and fly. And I just love it.
And Alan, you've worked with Art quite a bit and with Amy as well. Am I right in the past before doing these podcasts?
Well, I've never done an Amy show except on the podcast. I've met her, but I don't know her as intimately as Susannah does. But yes, me too. I love her writing. I guess we'll get into it during this discussion, but I really, really loved what she did with Shrew. Um, I think if Shakespeare were alive, well, the thing is that, any work of art, I think people have said this before, it's always political because it's always coming from its own culture and its own society. So Shakespeare wrote what he wrote coming from an intellectual context of what was happening in his society at the time, and so it spoke to those people. Amy, of course, has written it coming from the perspective of, women have a entirely different position and agency in our society in the 21st century. So that update for me, being a 21st century, 20th and 21st century person, was extremely welcome. Not that I'm not giving Shakespeare any shade. I love it. I do love it. But she definitely went him one better in my book because I'm from now, not from, 16 something or other. Oh, and art. Oh my God. Too damn much fun. Can I say damn?
Oh yes.
So much fun.
This is a teenage kids show.
Thank you for that. He is so much fun, Michael, in the rehearsal room and out of it. And he has such incredibly good ideas. And, the actor comes with their ideas, hopefully meets the director, speaks with the director, learns, what the director wants. And the combination of that, the collaboration of that is so wonderful for me with him. He's just got great, if I'm struggling with something, he can always come up with something where I say, oh, I think that's a lie, but I like it a lot. I'm going to try that. Or, oh, that's a great idea. Damn it. I wish I had said that or thought of that. And just like Susannah was saying also, he is so fearless, daring, bold in his work, and he really encourages that from his collaborators. So I love it. I love the guy, and I love working with him.
So you both have a great relationship with Art Mankey, and Susannah, you have this history with Amy Fried, and Alan, you have such respect for her as a writer. You got to know her through these two plays, obviously. Have you two ever worked with or met each other before these projects with Play On Podcasts?
We have never met in person. And yet
So
I feel
to this
so
day, you've physically
intimate with
never
him.
been right. So we've never had you actually in the same room. You've never actually physically met.
No.
Is that right? What's amazing about this, listeners, when you listen to these podcasts, as you know, it sounds like you have a history, like you know each other, like you're in the same room seeing each other. We feel like we're there with you. It's just part of the magic of this of modern technology.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I have no shame about saying I adore listening to the Play On podcast that we have created week after week. And I was just listening to the one that dropped last week, and is it a spoiler to say it's a very intimate
Not at all.
podcast between Alan and me?
I think that's an incentive for people to listen.
Yes. And I was listening to it, and not only do we sound like we are in the same place together, there is an intimacy that is created, and it's partially the enchantment of the voice of Alan Gilmore, but it is also the medium of the podcast, where, when you're on stage with someone, there are visual, you're taking them in visually, but you're also taking in visually everything else that's happening around you. And the most important thing, for acting, at 101 is the art of listening, the act of listening, can be diluted or distracted or whatever. But when you're in your little pod with your headphones, and you're doing is listening. You're just listening, and it's going just straight into your brain through your headphones. The intimacy of it, the immediacy of it, the vulnerability of it is incredibly powerful. And I was just struck. I have been struck by that, but particularly this past week where we have this really, I don't know if you've heard it, Alan, or if you would listen to it, but it's amazing.
It really is.
And I couldn't agree more with what Susannah just said. It was just doing, just as she said, just being in my little cube, because I recorded it in my closet,
Same.
and just the focus of that, and I don't know how it happened, even in the recording, but the immediacy of it as we did some of these very, very intimate scenes was amazing, I thought. And it's like, I don't know if it was the technology, but there was no like, oh, lag, we were doing this together in real time. Hundreds of miles away, because I was in Chicago.
Right.
And Susannah was in New York, but it really did sound like to me, while I was in my little cubicle, in my little closet, that we were in the same space at the same time. It was amazing.
It is remarkable. The chemistry is palpable. It's, listeners, it really is like Lady Chatterley's lover. All you D.H. Lawrence fans, it's Shrew is like that, and Taming of the Shrew, same thing. You were both, Alan, there again. You were in Chicago in your closet, and Susannah, you as well, and there again, the sense of the two of you being in the same place and having that chemistry is so palpable. It really is remarkable. And that is an amazing, podcasts sort of live in this unique space of not being not a film, not a play, not television. It's really, really like you're getting this all kind of transmitted directly into your mind. You're getting a movie in your mind. And I don't think there's any other medium quite like that.
Not that I've experienced. It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Susannah, how was the experience of doing Taming of the Shrew in comparison to Shrew? Can we talk about that? Were there things in Taming of the Shrew that you felt were solved by Shrew? And are there things about Taming of the Shrew that you feel work better than Shrew?
So I've had several experiences with the Taming of the Shrew throughout my career. I actually got my equity card playing Bianca at South Coast Rep 150 years ago. I've had several experiences with it. I've seen it. I've been in it. I played Kate in college and found out that I was going to do the podcast of the Taming of the Shrew. There was a little bit of that same old, okay, but then we are offered Amy's translation of the Taming of the Shrew, which just the little tweak, she doesn't, it's not, as you know, she's not like she rewrites it. It's not Shrew, but it's the Taming of the Shrew just sort of tweaked in ways that for me were much more satisfying. It's still the Taming of the Shrew. So there's still you got to figure out how it works, how you're going to do it. And for me and for us, and according to Art, what we decided and what we got on board with was this relationship works for these two people. Maybe it didn't work for other people, but this is what works for them as equals in this relationship. And I had to, that sort of on its own is enough to go, okay, I can accept that and move forward with that. But I sort of, I always do my own sort of research, as we all do for it. And I was like, so what does that mean? What does that mean? what does that mean to me as Susannah? So I do like things like I actually love when I'm working on a role, I love using the dictionary and
Mhm.
actually looking up the dictionary definitions of words. And so I've like looked, I was like, what does obey literally mean in the
Mm.
dictionary? And it's submitting to the commands, wishes, or desires of another person, acquiescing to the wishes of another person, which on its obey, we take I think we have a when we think of the word obey, we think of sort of as submissive, dominant. We think of sort of as, but if you're thinking of it as equals, I ask my partner to do something. I tell my partner to do something. Take out the trash, would you? And they obey because we're
Mm.
equals, you know. I don't have time. Do this for me, will you? Yes, I will, you know. And so it's like, so that was the way I approached the final speech, you know, where, and there are still things in it where it's like, why are our bodies soft and weak? Why are we like this? And it's like, if you take that as, you can take that as, how do I say this? This, but okay, remember, it's 1592 or whatever, but also, you know, also remember, and what I think Amy brought to this and what Kate is bringing to, you know, the ending of that is why if we soften our hearts, can we soften our ways as well too, to
Mm.
make ourselves vulnerable to our partner, to each other? Can we not fear that vulnerability? Can we not fear that softness with each other as we obey each other, as we express our desires, our wishes, and obey them to each other? um, Strength is in surrender, tis of love the root, is what she says in Amy's version of the final speech in The Taming of the Shrew. Strength is in surrender. I
Mm.
surrender myself to this other person. I surrender my guardrails. I surrender my armor to this other person. So that was how I approached The Taming of the Shrew in a way that, for me, was satisfying. Now, Shrew is just satisfying to me in every way because and what was important to me, and I'll try to wrap this up quickly, but what was important to me is that Kate be the same person. And she is. She's the same person in Taming of the Shrew and Shrew. She's the same because she's just, I mean, and I understand this as a woman sometimes where you just feel like bees are just going to fly out of your mouth, you know? And so she's still that person, but Amy gives us, Petruchio and Kate, the gift of allowing that person to be and exist and blossom and explode and melt in a way that is ultimately satisfying to me.
That's really such a beautiful and helpful sort of taking us through the journey on both of these processes. Thank you, Susannah. Alan, I want to ask you, you did Petruchio in both iterations. Do you feel like Shrew helps Petruchio's story get told? What did you experience in the process working on both versions?
Unlike Susannah, I don't have a heck of a lot of experience with Taming of the Shrew. Um, Shrew was a great pleasure, and working on Taming of the Shrew on the podcast was fabulous. I'll recount. I was in Taming of the Shrew in college in my junior and senior years. I played Lucentio. Is that my name? The servant of
Yep.
uh, what's my no. Yeah, Lucentio. That's the one that's trying to date Bianca. Is that right?
Right. Yep.
Okay. So I played Lucentio um, in a haze. You know how it is in college. You're like nervous, and your professors are all looking for what's wrong with you, and so I can barely remember it. I know I had to do some kind of acrobatic and athletic things and everything, and it was fun ish. And then many, many years later, because, I have a character background and a clown background, I was playing Baptista. And that was at the Chicago Shakespeare Theater.
Baptista is Bianca's father.
That's right. Bianca and Kate's dad. And that was a heck of a lot of fun, but I did it strictly for laughs, and because it was kind of it was a little bit of a slapstick version, So anyway, and then Art asked me to read Petruchio, which I never would have imagined anybody would ask me to do, because everybody knows that I have a character background and clown and like that. So it was a thrill. Taming of the Shrew, again, it makes sense to me to have it be a slapstick because there is so much kind of wild, the wild behaviors, not just of Petruchio and Kate, but of the of the people around them. It's kind of a free for all sometimes there, especially without all of the hubbub and commotion around trying to get the hand of Bianca first. So it was great, but to me, the real beauty of what Kate and Petruchio can be was really unearthed when I read and did Shrew. I thought that they were both so much more fleshed out, 3D, believable. I thought that what Amy did was make, first of all, you really understood where Kate's inner volcano was coming from. And because you understood it, you really had enormous empathy for it, I thought. Secondly, she made Petruchio so much smarter. She made Kate so much smarter, and Petruchio so much smarter in that he was far less on the spectrum of toxic masculinity, toxic maleness. He could be vulnerable and he could understand something about his wife before she almost literally had to, hit him over the head, And it just made their story. You really saw how these two people who are passionate, really dynamic people, physical people, you really saw and understood how they suddenly really see their match and are very much attracted to it. It's not to say that you don't see that in Taming of the Shrew, because I think you do, but I think in Amy's version, we have so much more understanding and empathy for them because we understand Kate so much more, and we really feel for who she is and how she became who she is. And you see Petruchio begin to understand that and really have that same kind of vulnerability toward her. And to me, they were just smarter and sweeter and kinder and, all of that stuff. So it was, both experiences were wonderful, but I have to say, I like them better. I like them better in Shrew.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You might say all kinds of stuff when things go wrong, but these are the words you really need to remember. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. They've got options to fit your unique insurance needs, meaning you can talk to your agent to choose the coverage you need, have coverage options to protect the things you value most, file a claim right on the State Farm mobile app, and even reach a real person when you need to talk to someone. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Everyone has a reason to change. Growing old, heartbreak, a fresh start. Whatever it may be, Peloton is here to get you through life's biggest moments. With instructors that speak your language and workouts that move to your own rhythm. Peloton's Tread and All Access membership help you set your targets, track your progress, and get stronger, making your fitness goals a reality. Find your push. Find your power. Peloton. Visit onepeloton.com.
That's so interesting. So it sounds to me, from your description, Alan, like the Taming of the Shrew is fun if it's really done for the slapstick, but you get the real story of who these people truly are in Amy Fried's version, in Amy Fried's Shrew.
And Michael, I don't say that there aren't those real moments in Taming of the Shrew. I think there are. But again, I say that it's a story that speaks to us today in 2025, Shrew, and the story of Taming of the Shrew is a story that speaks to us in some ways that we have to kind of parse in order to really be able to understand and use it. We have to say, oh, this is good. Oh, I can't use that. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, that's something that I hadn't really, thought of. And it's a way of doing it, but maybe not for me. You got to parse that story in order for it to feel relevant for today and feel useful. Shrew gives Kate her own agency and a resonance to her own story that I think is so beautiful. But yeah, I do think that slapstick. I am a slapstick type of person. I do think that helps the story of Taming of the Shrew, and it's not out of place necessarily in Shrew, but Shrew has a lot to offer.
And Susannah, from your description, it sounds like you really look for the justification in order to play things truthfully, regardless of even your own opinions about you, the person, Susannah's own opinions about something you're working on. Am I correct in saying that? So like Taming of the Shrew, yeah, there are things that are objectionable in it on its face, but you as an actor task yourself with solving how to make it playable with honesty, with truthfulness.
Yes, thank you for putting it that way. Yes, I love playing complicated characters. I love it. I love the challenge. And to what you were saying, to put it really simplistically, a villain never thinks they're the villain, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're playing the villain, everything you do is justifiable to yourself, So, with the Taming of the Shrew, the classic Taming of the Shrew, you could choose to play the ending several different ways. You could play it like she is completely downtrodden and she has been literally and figuratively beaten down to this state. You could play it with a wink. You could play it and so that she doesn't mean anything she said. You could play it with a wink for herself, or you could play it that it's a wink between Petruchio and Kate to get the money, or to, or just that they're elevated above it. In this instance, we chose to play it that Kate means what she is saying, which in some ways is the easiest way to play it. What I mean is, and I don't mean easy, I mean it means the least sort of put upon or contrived way to play it. And I'm not saying that I'm not judging other ways of doing it, because I think, it's not a museum piece. It's a thing that you get to decide how you want to do it with each production. But with our production, we chose it this way. So for me, regardless of what me as Susannah might think about what Kate does at the end, if I were to think about it intellectually or from my point of view, and I know that when I say Kate means what she says at the end, because she has found this level of love with this person, I know when I say she means what she says in that final speech, there are people who go, oh, I just can't. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that. I totally get it. But for me playing it, if I'm asked, if we have decided, particularly Art and Alan and me, if we have decided that this is at the end, they mean what they say, I gotta find the way to do it for real. I gotta, and I believe it. I believe it. In that situation, I believe that they leave happy.
So it's really, once you've decided you're going to do this part,
Mm-hmm.
that it's up to you to make it work in accordance with the director, with the people you're collaborating with.
And if I can't get on board with it, and that's the way it's doing it, either I do it, but signal somehow to the audience that I don't really mean it, which is just like, what's the point? And then that's just completely unsatisfying for everybody. Or I dig in.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever walked on a production that you just you couldn't get on board with?
No, I have not. Because I feel like I've gotten the idea, like either during the audition process or reading a script. I've passed on callbacks before, when if I thought maybe I wanted to do something, but then in the first audition, I was like, I passed on the callback. I don't like to do that. But I think that if you're not on board, you should not commit. And I think if you've committed, then you do it as truthfully as you can.
And listeners, just in case you're wondering, a callback is when you literally get a call back from the director, wants to see you again. You go in for another audition, basically a second round. It's, you're being seriously considered for the role. Yeah. I want to ask you, Alan, have you ever left a production? Have you ever walked on a production or passed on a callback?
I can't recall. First of all, no, I've never left a production. And I can't recall passing on a callback. But I have passed on a lot of offers. I've many just in the last couple of months. Because just as Susannah was saying, it's so funny. We are always so, I don't know if you noticed this, Susannah, but we are all, I notice it because I'm sitting in my own skin, in my own head, but we are so copacetic on so many things, tangential or not even tangential to the project that we have both worked on. And this is another reason why one of these days we should actually work on something together in the same room, breathing the same air. But I couldn't agree with you more. If the project, when you read it, or when you hear from the director or the producer or whatever, and those red flags start to pop up, then it's not for you. And guess what? Somebody else wants it. It's for them. Let them have it. I'm happy to step out of the way for somebody else to find their joy in that project with those collaborators. I'm joyful about that because I think that the same thing is true. Possibly somebody, and I think it has happened before, that somebody has stepped away from something and I stepped in and found joy in doing it. I always say, even when I'm coaching, young actors or other actors, this audition is yours. It's for you. In fact, you are the employer of your agent. So find your own agency, find your own. Don't let them tell you everything and that you have to do and you should be doing that. You have hopefully some instinct about the artist that you are and that you want to be. And when you walk into that audition room, that's who they want. They don't want somebody that's coming in, a tail between their legs and obsequious. I'm going to make a word up here, obsequifying, no, they want you to be standing with your spine in your back. It's straight up, and you are presenting the artist that you are so that they can know. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they're doing the same thing, being honest about who they are and how they see this particular project, whatever that might be.
You've both mentioned in your praise of Art Mahnke, our director, sort of what he brings to the process. Susannah, you mentioned, I think it was specificity or clarity in the direction. Can you talk about that a little bit more? How a director helps in making when the ideal director and how they can help bring a performance out.
Before what I've noticed is before the process starts, each time that I've worked with Art, he knows the material and his vision so well. He knows every bit of it, every inch of it. He knows it so well. And he's really good at articulating that to actors. He's good at, but he's also extremely collaborative. So he's good at hearing your ideas and either agreeing with them, disagreeing with them with a really good argument why. And then, I mean, I say argument, but it's not like an argument, but with a really good reason why. And he's always right. I have found, or an agreement, but it's like, yes, and yes, it's that, and add this into it too. He's like a surgeon kind of with it, with tiny nuances or big ideas. He can really, and he articulates them really well. Because he's a creature of the theater so fully and completely, he knows exactly how to see things and to say things, and can sometimes, and he also, to find what is the way to tell this story in the clearest and most dynamic way too. And so he can say that in a really sort of actor emotional way. He can also tell it to you in a really actor director intellectual way, and he can also do it in sort of like a just say it faster, if that's what's going to get what's needed most easily and quickly. And so that I really appreciate that as an actor.
How about you, Ellen? What do you look for in a director? What works best for you from a director?
First of all, again, Susannah has said everything perfectly about him. I could not agree more. But the thing also that she didn't say, but is also true, is that he is so much fun. He is so funny in the rehearsal room. And also that has a way of, stimulating the discussion, stimulating the chances that you might take. You just feel free and you feel safe. And, he's risque, and I like that. I come from the old school, where there are things that you can't say or do today that if you're in a room with Art Mankey and his type, go ahead and do it, So that's a lot of fun for me. But yeah, the same again with Susannah. I love working with a director that I have a shorthand with, that I know how they work. I could not be more passionately in support of the way that they work and the ideas. It's just like she was saying, Art comes in so extremely well prepared, and he wants that from his collaborators, from his actors. I remember once I was doing The Taming of the Shrew with him, and it makes me just have to give a shout out to my just recent collaborator in the last few weeks, Lena Klingeman, who was in that show. And I just finished Legacy of Light with her at McCarter Theater. You can edit that out if you want to, but she knows this about well. We had to read the novel, the Three Musketeers. That was the show that we were doing with Art at it was Shakespeare Santa Cruz at the time in Santa Cruz, California. And it's like reading a novel, an encyclopedia. It's 700, 800 pages long. But he wanted us to have all of the information that he was coming with, so that when he, spoke about a particular relationship or a particular instance or whatever it was, we understood what that was. So he demands that you come prepared, And I think that that is wonderful. It just makes the whole process have greater speed and also greater depth. We were, knowing the novel, you were building the legs to the show before you got to the show, and very long, deep legs, because there's a lot going on in the Three Musketeers. So, yeah, he's very, very passionate. He always goes for the heart of the matter in a scene, in a play. Yeah, for me, he knows how to talk to the actor, to, as I think, again, as Susannah was suggesting, talking that intellectual language that speaks to the actor's viscera, or talking just, the pace on this has to be faster. That joke, has to be faster. The joke will not sustain, lugubriousness and length and all of that. Just faster. Let's just go faster. So those are my languages too, coming also from my background. So much of which is in comedy and clowning and stuff. Faster is funnier. If it's too slow, the audience gets ahead of you, and it's like a wet potato chip. You don't want to eat that. Great to have those relationships where the rhythm and the language of your director. I've been fortunate to have that with a few directors, and definitely Art Mackey is one of them.
Susannah, just to wrap up here, last question. Is there a dream role or a dream project that you have in mind?
Oh gosh, I should have an answer for this. I should have an answer prepared for this. Oh boy.
Susannah, if you need to think it over,
yes.
I have an answer.
Oh, good. Yes.
Go ahead, Alan.
Please.
I have an answer. And look, this could be me and you, because I have always wanted to play George. When I say George, I think everybody in the theater should know.
Yes.
Yes.
Virginia Woolf. I think that Susannah and I would make a dynamic George and Martha. Dynamic.
Well, let's do the podcast version.
Oh, yes.
There's that.
There's that.
I'm not through with my bucket list. I made it, and now you've asked this question. I'm still giving Susannah some time. I also want to play John Merrick in The Elephant Man.
Oh, yeah.
I want to play Salieri.
Oh.
And I would love to play Richard III. I would really love to play Richard II. And I would love to play one or two more of these August Wilson parts that people don't normally cast, because I'm classically trained and a clown. But I would love to play Elmore. I call him Elmo in King Hedley II. I would love to play either Gabriel, the brother, the kind of autistic, kind of crazy brother, or Troy Maxon, either of those parts in Fences. So that's a little taste of my. Oh, and I would also love to play Lady Bracknell. Okay.
Oh my God.
That's quite the list.
That would be so awesome.
Go ahead, Susannah.
It's so crazy. I don't really, because I've been asked this before, so that's why I said I should have an answer for this. But I don't really. I'm fully 100% on board with Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf with Alan Gilmore. I think that's my list now. I think that would be incredible. That would be incredible. Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much. It is such a pleasure to actually be in the same room, so to speak, and be able to talk just together without having to worry about being on the clock for rehearsal or for recording, just to hear these stories and to hear how you work together. And now I hope you actually really get to meet.
I know, right? Yes. We're going to have a date in the park with the dogs. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you. You've been listening to the Play On Podcast bonus content series with Alan Gilmore and Susannah Rogers. You can learn more about the Play On Podcast at Next Chapter Podcast's website, nextchapterpodcasts.com. where you can find other Play On podcast series and interviews, along with talk podcasts like The 500, Indecent with Kiki Anderson, Beef with Bridget Todd, Targeted, and a whole lot more. I'd like to thank Jeremiah Tittle, the founder of Next Chapter Podcasts, and our producer, Pete Musto. Our audio engineer, editor, and sound designer is Justin Cortese. Be sure to subscribe to Next Chapter Podcast for updates on all the latest content. And don't forget to rate and review our shows. That makes a huge difference. I'm Michael Goodfriend, and I look forward to sharing more incredible works in the Play On podcast series with you, along with lots of enlightening bonus content at Next Chapter Podcasts.
6 months from now, you could be running a 5K, booking that dream trip, or seeing thicker, fuller hair every time you look in the mirror. Through Hers, you can get dermatologist-trusted, clinically proven prescriptions with ingredients that go beyond what over-the-counter products offer. Whether you prefer oral or topical treatments, Hers has you covered. Getting started is simple. Just fill out an intake form online, and a licensed provider will recommend a customized plan just for you. The best part? Everything is 100% online. If prescribed, your treatment ships right to your door. No pharmacy trips, no waiting rooms, and no insurance headaches. Plus, treatments start at just $35 a month. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/listen. That's FORHERS.com/listen. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Next Chapter Podcasts.